What's up, everyone? So, I'm Champ Bets. This is the first time I've ever done something like this before, so this is very new to me. And so, excuse me for any hiccups and mistakes, and I sometimes tend to repeat myself a lot, so that might occur a bit. Give me time to get better. I'll try and get better. So, this is the first time ever doing something like this, and I've never used StreamYard before, so getting used to the mechanics of this. And yeah, more about myself. The main thing I want to focus on with Champ Bets is mainly combat sports, and for the most part, mostly the UFC because they're on every weekend, every Saturday for the most part. And I love mixed martial arts to death. It's my favorite sport in the world. Anything can happen any given fight. That's why we love this sport. And since 2022, since Adesanya versus Whitaker 2, I've been betting on the sport, and I started with $100 to begin with, and I haven't put in any other money since. And I've I've gotten results. I'm not lost $100 from then. So I think I have somewhat of a knowledge when it comes to the sport. I know a little bit. I can I can predict some of these things. I'm not great at methods. I'll be upfront at that, but predicting winners and stuff like that, predicting possibilities that can happen, as opposed to what will happen, but can happen. I'm pretty good at that, and I've I can know things about like boxing as well. Not the most about boxing and I would say professional wrestling too. Whenever that those lines come up, I mean, predetermined outcomes. It's hilarious that you let you bet on that, but that's for the most part. That's the where I've had the most success betting wise, and I want to start doing a show because I love the UFC, and I know a lot of people talk about like, hey, these fight night cards suck and stuff like that. I'm I know a good fight when I see it, so I'll be able to inform what are good fights and what are going to be the fun fights on the card, and as well as possible betting perspective. And I'll give my confidence in picks and stuff like that. So yeah, more about me. I started watching the sport in 2020 on a random whim at a laundromat when I was bored out of my mind. It's like, what the hell is on? And I look, Conor McGregor versus Cowboy Cerrone, UFC 246 was the first card I've ever watched. And from then on, I never missed a pay per view. I saw a 247 Jones versus Reyes, 248 Adesanya versus Romero, awful fight, but Zhang versus Jan Jacek, excellent fight, and 249 Gaethje versus Ferguson. And from then on, from the when the and I'm not sure if I can say this, but when it struck, you know what happened in 2020. I started becoming like diehard for the sport. I watch every fight night pretty much since then. So yeah, I've been keeping up with the sport and I started doing Muay Thai because of it. And yeah, it's awesome. I love this sport to death. And I want to analyze and go into it. So why not try something like this for the first time? I think it'll be fun. I'll get better as time goes on. So hey, let's do it. I want to get into talking about some fights. What's with the dilly dally? Let's go. First time using StreamYard, so yeah. Rose Namajunas versus Amanda Ribas in a flyweight bout. So I'm gonna start from the bottom of the card as opposed to the top because obviously main event's what most people care about, but it doesn't hurt to start from the bottom. So first fight we have Muhammad Usman versus Mick Parkin. So this is a very interesting fight because we got these two big heavyweights. One of them, I think, is the complete meme. Muhammad Usman, the motor. It's gonna motor through the whole division, of course. And Mick Parkin, who's I thought at one point in this fight, the Jamal Pokes fight, was like, holy cow, this guy is top 15 heavyweight, easy. And this fight happened with Kyle Machado. My opinion on him dropped significantly, to be honest with you. And I've never really been high on Mo Usman, to be honest. I picked him in each one of these fights, and the reason why I picked him in those fights was because Mo Usman is just complete physicality. He has all right wrestling to back him up, but the physicality alone is what really helps propel him to like victory in most of these fights, to be honest. Not he's really nothing amazing or otherwise, but like that physicality helps. And I do think it's the same thing. It's going to be the same thing here against Mick Park, and I think the physicality alone is probably what's going to lead him to victory against Mick Park. And then this guy, Mohammed Usman, somehow gets another win. And this fight, I think, is going to be hilarious to watch. There's a gif of Mick Park in his last fight with Kyle Machado when Kyle Machado takes his back, but then flies right over his back and falls to the ground against Mick Park. And just, I feel like things like that are going to happen again. And I mean, what possibly can happen? It really can go either way. Where like I can see both of them holding each other against the fence. Do I think they'll get a finish? If anyone's gonna get a finish, it's probably Mo Usman just out for like some random shot just hitting. Probably not. It's probably gonna go to decision, but it's heavyweights. You never know with these big dudes at all. On the feet, stand up, technical like technique wise, Mick Parkin is definitely clearly the better one, and wrestling wise, technically probably Mick Parkin is better as well, but. Man, physicality the physicality can be such a big difference in this division. I really think that's what comes down to this fight, just like how it did with these other fights. To be fair to Mick Parkin, these two like heavyweights, or even three, because Zach Polga went down to light heavyweight. They're not the biggest of heavyweights. Mick Parkin's going to be the biggest one Usman has fought thus far in the UFC. Although when tough, of course, he did actually fight some heavyweights there too. But yeah, that's pretty much my breakdown for that. I think physicality wins. Am I the most confident? Not really. It's hard to be confident about heavyweight fights in general, I feel like. But yeah, I'm going with Mo Usman to win. This next one is probably a guaranteed banger, if I'm honest. Igor versus Severino versus Andre Lima. If I make mistakes with pronunciations, forgive me. I'll do better with that next time. So these are both kids coming off the why am I calling them kids, man? I'm not that old. They're both coming off the Contender Series wins. Igor with a ground and pound TKO, and Lima with a decision. And one's significantly older, 5 years, while Igor is 20 years of age. And this flyweight bout is going to be a bunch of like fast-paced action, and I'm very excited for this fight. I'm leaning towards Lima, but it's hard to be super confident. I like how he's coming closer to his prime as opposed to Igor, who's not there yet. He's 20 years old, very good at 20 as well. But I think being close to your prime is gonna help you be your body be more prepared and ready. His striking, Lima's striking, is super clean. It is clean as hell, and I actually really like the takedown defense on him as well, as he's shown in the past. And if he gets put on the ground, he has get up ability, which I think is useful. Igor is more of a brawler. He wants to go in there and go to war with anyone. He goes ahead and fights, and he's got pretty good takedowns as well. But I'm leaning towards Lima. I find it hard to be really super confident in this fight because they're both Dana White Contender Series debutants. I think in general, Dana White Contender Series debutants aren't the best. There's some you can tell like, oh wow, this guy is different. Like well, this is not a good example because he was getting pieced up. But I thought that Carlos Prates guy, like when I saw how he did in Contender Series, I was like, wow, this guy is good. This guy is special. Didn't look so special against Trevin Giles until he got that KO, which was phenomenal. But there is sometimes you'll be able to tell which one of these guys are different. And yeah, I'm not super confident in this fight. I'm not gonna put much money on this. Maybe I'll bet on like a small over, but probably better off not going ahead and doing that. So be wary on that. This next fight, Montserrat Rendon versus Daria Zelenikova. My Slavic roots got to come out. I hope I get that right. I'm pretty sure it's roughly pretty right, but I'm going to call her Daria for the sake of everyone. So sometimes I do have like biases against people, and I'll try and be upfront about them. I don't like this Rendon girl. I don't think she's really good at all, if I'm honest. She's 35 years of age, not the youngest in a young person sport. Well, Daria is 28 years of age. Both bantamweights. It's not the best division. We won't lie here, but this should be a fun fight. This is a striker versus grappler matchup. Grappler being Rendon, and striker in Daria. I think Rendon's kind of dreadful. That Vidal fight was, I mean, that was a split decision. She did win that fight, but some of the things Vidal was doing in that fight, she gave that fight away, it felt like. And Rendon was able to get on top and like basically control on top and win via that way. While the problem in that fight was like she gets hit. She gets hit. It's just like that's just such a big problem. And especially when you're going against a girl like Daria, who's going to light her up on the feet. She is going to light her up on the feet. And the worry that most people have for this fight, and I mean, including me, I mean, how can you not be worried, is that Daria doesn't have the greatest like ground game as she's shown so far. Melissa Mullins, also known as Melissa Dixon, before she got married, who's quite good. Let's not take that away. She's not bad at all. She's pretty sure she's ranked in the UFC if I remember correctly. Which, yep, she is. Just checked on my other screen. So that's not a bad loss to have at all. And she does have a good ground game. So maybe she's come back and taken the strides to, okay, it's time for me to work on my grappling defense on bottom, as well as my takedown defense. So we haven't really seen it being tested since. But the problem with Rendon, like, yeah, like, oh, she's got problems on the ground. Maybe Rendon's the perfect one. She's the underdog here. She's going to take her down. But, like, most of her takedowns in that Vidal fight were mostly, like, oh, she caught the leg. Down you go. Down you go. I'm not sure if that's really going to be as available against Daria. Sure, she's going to throw kicks, I'm sure. But if she knows the matchup going in, she should know I got to be more careful about my kicks. And I know I do not want to be on bottom against this Rendon girl. And if this fight stays on the feet, she's going to piece her up and maybe even TKO her. I can even see a TKO being possible. But more likely than not, I'm going to give some credit to Rendon. She's probably pretty tough. Undefeated. But I'm definitely leaning Daria to win this fight. I like her. I really like her in this spot. I'm pretty confident that she'll win. I am biased against Rendon, I won't lie. So keep that in mind. But I do have some good money on Zelenikova. And maybe I should be upfront about, like, oh, I have good money. I don't bet too much money. I have small stakes. So I just made a Hard Rock account to start tracking betting, because I wanted to make this I want to make a new website, as maybe a YouTube channel kind of thing, where I track bets and stuff like that, and like get a community working. So I usually use Bovada. I have money on there, but I want to start with $100 to begin with, and go from there and try to build a community from that $100, just like how I did in 2022 with just myself. And I think we could do something similar, work out like that. So yeah, so good money on not Rendon, God no. On Daria is going to be like 20 at most, probably not even. We're early on, so yeah. But Daria is one of the spots on this card I actually quite like. Next fight. Stephen Wynn versus Jarno Aarons. To me, this is a pretty interesting fight. I think Aarons is getting pretty underrated by most of the people like covering this card from what I've seen. I can kind of see why, because like this Gomis, he hasn't looked super fantastico in these fights, but he's all right. He's had moments in both these two losses against Sang-Woo Choi and William Gomis, and flat out, he's not bad. He's not bad. He's all right. Am I picking him to win? Probably not. I'm gonna be honest, probably not. But Steven Nguyen is not someone I'm super duper high on. Like, is he probably going to put volume on Aaron's? I do think so, but is that necessarily going to be enough for him to win? I would say yes, but I'm not super duper confident. And with this sport, judging can go any which way it can, because if you watch a sport just for any given week, you'll see like, man, robberies happen. They just happen. So I don't like it when I have to trust in the judges. And this guy's contender series record does worry me a little bit. At least he's been winning for the most part. Other than his flying knee, it's a flying knee. I don't think it's a chin problem with this guy. Most people would have gotten KO'd for that. But honestly, I don't think he's really looked that impressive. And that AJ Cunningham, he went to war with that guy. You saw what Ludovic Klein did to him. Is it really such a great thing to see him go to war? I don't really think so. And Jarno Aaron's back is, I think he knows his back is against the wall, and he's going to try his hardest to go ahead and try and get this back. So I think this is a really tough fight. I think this will be a pretty fun fight, a good fight on this card. My pick is win to win, but if your sportsbook offers a spread like plus 3.5 on Jarno Aaron's, I think that's a good bet. I think that's a pretty good bet. I can totally see Jarno Aaron's take a round from win and maybe even lose, or maybe even win. I think this is a close fight. It depends on the odds you get for the spread. If it's plus money, I think bet a little bit on it. I don't think you want to put too much money on either of these guys, if I'm quite honest. But I think the spread's the play to go. So, small little bet on that. So yeah, should be a fun fight. So next fight up on the card is Miles Johns versus Cody Gibson. This is a fun fight. I'm a big fan of Miles Johns. Maybe not that big of a fan, but I like the guy. Cody Gibson's cool too. I like him on The Ultimate Fighter. And his fight against Brad Katona. What a fight. That was a fight of the year contender. So I think something to highlight is this no contest that occurred for Miles Johns. He won this fight when it happened, but I'm forgetting what was it that he got popped for. It was not some real performance enhancer. Dan Argetta versus Miles Johns. No contest. Just make sure I got this. There's got to be something here. It might have been ADHD if I remember correctly, or Adderall, something of sorts. No contest. Originally, when the result was later changed to no contest when he tested turnable. Elevated levels of turnable, or I can't speak English, but I'm pretty sure it's not really that much of a performance enhancer from my understanding. I might be completely wrong. I'm not no medical scientist. I'll be the first one to tell you that. But I mean, he got suspended for 6 months, and now he's ready to go and taking this fight against Cody Gibson on short notice, because Cody Gibson was originally fighting Davey Grant, if I remember correctly. Let's check. Davey Grant. Yep. So that would have been a tough fight for Cody Gibson. This one not as bad, but I do think I lean Miles Johns to be able to get this done. This is going to be a very fun fight. I think it's going to be close. Cody Gibson showed that in that Brad Katona fight. He's still got it. He's still good. Even though he's 36, he's the older guy. I think he's quite good, to be honest. There's a reason why the odds are really close. if Miles Johns wrestles, if he chooses to wrestle, which I'm going to bank on, just a little, maybe not a little bit, but I'm going to bank on him to do so. I think he wins this fight. I think he's going to win this fight with the wrestling. If he chooses to try and strike only, which he's done in like some of these past fights here, it's going to be a tough one. He can still win, but it's gonna make his life a lot tougher than it really should be. But I'm a fan of Miles Johnson. I think he's gonna be able to get this done with wrestling. In a close fight, though. It's gonna be a close fight. I'll probably put a small bet on Johns because these are close odds, but I'm not gonna be putting any big money on this fight at all. Like a dollar. Like I'm a small better. Like I like betting like 50 cents and stuff. So like a dollar or something on Miles Johnson to get a dollar back. I don't mind that. Close fight. That's gonna be a fun one. We'll see what happens. Then in the next fight, we got Ricardo Ramos versus Julian Erosa, Juicy J. I think we're gonna see a y'all must have forgotten moment from Juicy J in this fight. I think he's due for a win. Really, he's been on his skid. His chin not been looking the greatest. Let's not lie. That head kick from Alex Caceres, thing of freaking beauty. And that Padella loss was just kind of out of nowhere, to be honest. Kind of out of nowhere. And he got chinned, and I think a lot of people are assuming Ricardo Ramos spinning elbow and hits Erosa on the chin, and he's gonna go down. But we've seen Erosa in freaking wars. Like that Steven Peterson fight always comes to mind when I think of Julian Erosa. That dude is ready to freaking dog. He's a dog. And I think he's gonna dog this one out. I've not really been super liking what I've been seeing from Ricardo Ramos, if I'm honest. So, and I think the odds are kind of off. This should be closer than what it is. And MMA is a sport where, oops, sorry about that. It's a sport where recency bias is so apparent. It's so apparent in mixed martial arts, and I think more than pretty much any sport. Like, oh my god, this guy just got KO'd. He's a bum. Insanity to me. And I think the odds somewhat reflect that. I think I like the reach and height advantage that LaRosa is going to have. And I think he's going to be able to go to war with Ricardo Ramos in a really fun fight. And I think he's going to be able to pull it out. I'm going to put some money on Erosa to win. Not a lot. Probably not. Probably not. Well, I do have a big spot on this card that I'm going to talk about and explain why. But yeah, this is a guaranteed fun fight. I lean Erosa to win. And next up on the card, Trey Ogden versus Kurt Hollabaugh. Goodness gracious. Hold up. And we are back. Sorry about that. A little message on my phone. So now we're talking about Trey Ogden versus Kurt Hollabaugh. This is such a tough fight to break down. This is going to be a good fight. Is it going to be the most entertaining? I don't know. Ogden's not been anything that crazy, but I've been liking the fights Kurt Hollabaugh's been in. Kurt Hollabaugh's age 37. It's a bit of a worry, but man, he's been looking better than ever. I'm going to be honest. He's been looking better than ever in these past few fights. And honestly, Trey Ogden, too, he's not been looking bad at all. This no contest, everyone knows that this really should have been a win. It was no contest, and rightfully so, because Beltran messed that up for the Nicholas Mota stoppage. But it was going to be a decision victory or submission victory for Trey Ogden nonetheless. So everyone gives him slack for that, obviously. That's he was winning that fight easily. Bahamondes, I mean, Bahamondes is fantastico. Zal Huber, this was a great win in hindsight. I think there was UFC jitters for Daniel Zal Huber, but man, give credit to Ogden. He looked good. Getting outstruck by Jordan Levitt, and it was kind of doesn't look good. But I think a lot of that has to do with how unorthodox Jordan Levitt is, and because of how unorthodox he is, it's just wacky to fight him. But Kurt Hollabaugh's like last few like performances in like the Ultimate Fighter, and especially this one against Austin Hubbard, damn man, he looks so good. His boxing He's just been looking at another level as of late. I feel like. I mean, I think I'm just going with momentum. If I'm honest, I think I'm gonna go with Kurt Hollabaugh. I think this fight can really go either way. I'm probably gonna stay away from this one, but I like the dog here. I like the underdog here, and I think Kurt Hollabaugh is hungry and he's gonna try and go get this win against Trey Ogden. Can Trey Ogden win this? Absolutely. So I'm not confident at all, but that's a good fight. That's an interesting. That's a very interesting fight to see play out. Next fight, Luis. Wait, oh, I'm not gonna be able to pronounce that. Puelo, Puelo, Pojelo. None of that's right. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna call him Luis versus Fernando Padilla. Padilla. Fernando. I'm gonna call him Fernando. I'm not. I'm not the biggest fan of Fernando Padilla. Fernando. Let's call him Fernando. I don't think. I think he's kind of been overperforming as of late. Like I feel like this Kyle Nelson fight really showed kind of where he's at. I don't rate him that highly, like skill wise. I feel like Arosa's chin has been chinned a few times, and he got good shot on Arosa and fair play. You did what you had to do. Lost to Spike Carlisle, who I think it's all right. He's all right. He's not the greatest though, and he was out of the UFC. He's pretty quickly, to be honest. So I'm not the biggest fan of him. He's pretty young. He's 27. This other guy is 29. Just got to win on Contender Series. Contender Series people can go either way. Can they have the debut shivers or the jitters, or or will they perform to the task? I don't know. This is a really tough one. I'm going to go with the underdog again. I'm going with a lot of dogs on this card, surprisingly enough. I'm usually not like that, but I like the dogs in this card. I think Luis, even though he is slow, I think he's going to be able to land on Fernando and be able to land the bigger shots. And at the end of the day, he's going to land the bigger, heavier shots. I like Padilla, Fernando's like range because of the height and the reach in that fight, which makes this really hard to. I do think this is a really hard fight to predict, but I am leading the underdog to land the big shots, and Fernando to not land as big of shots. I mean, Kyle Nelson's not necessarily like the fastest guy either, so I think I'm gonna take the brawler to win this fight. Not confident. I don't think you want to trust either of these guys with your money. it's just the truth. So I'd stay away from that one, betting wise. Then we have this one. This is such a good fight. Billy Quarantillo versus Yusuf Zalal. At first when seeing this fight, I was like, oh my god, it's Billy Q season. This is all day Billy Q. And before this fight happened, Billy Q was set to fight Gabriel Miranda. And I originally had a pretty big bet on like Billy Q before I made my Hard Rock account. On Bovada I had a good amount of money on Billy Q to win this fight against Gabriel Miranda. I was like, man, he's going to destroy this guy. I don't see how Gabriel Miranda really beats Billy Q anywhere besides maybe like a random submission. Here though, we have Yusuf Zalal, who's back after a stint outside of the UFC. I did not mean to click that. I meant to click on Yusuf Zalal, who has fought some really good competition in the UFC, to be honest. Like, for his losses especially. Ilia Topuria, he won round 3 against Ilia Topuria, who is the current champion. That's super impressive. Having somewhat of a close fight, doing pretty well against Ilia Topuria is just impressive as hell. Sungwoo Choi, at this time, Sungwoo Choi was looking freaking pretty good, damn good. He's not looking the worst at all. Looking pretty good, and had a good fight with Sungwoo Choi, and had a split decision with Sean Woodson, who's kind of a problem. He's not easy. And let's not forget, draw with Damon Blackshear. I think people look back on this and it's like, wow, that's Blackshear. People didn't know about Blackshear back then. They know about him now ever since he got that twister. That's a good person to get into draw with. It's not a bad competition. But since then, he's out from the UFC, and he's not been fighting the greatest competition. Let's be real, he's not been fighting the greatest competition. Like 6-2, 9-3, 0-0-0. He's fighting cans. What I do like about him fighting cans is what he's doing to these cans. Round 1 strikes, round 1 like KO, or TKO, and then an arm triangle. He's doing what he needs to do to beat these cans. So Zalal, and I've listened to his recent interview with James Lynch, and I love what I've heard from him. He's saying the biggest difference between his stint before the UFC, before in like his original run, and now is that he is now ready. He's now like fully like mentally locked in, and he's got the confidence to do really well. He's got the confidence that he's on this level and he's ready to perform. This is short notice. This is short notice for Zalal coming in. But the thing about it is that he was originally like an alternate for Tough, or for the Ultimate Fighter. That's, I think, is pretty much happening right now, if I remember correctly, with Shevchenko Grasso. And because of that, he has been training as a result. He's been ready to go. He's been like, just in case, man, I'm ready to get into a fight. And now he's stepping on short notice. And the interesting part about this is stylistically. Billy Q in these last few fights, like against Gabriel Benitez, Shane Burgos, Alexander Hernandez, Edson Barboza, Damon Jackson. His style is about, okay, I'm ready to get beat up round 1. I'm ready to be a freaking dog and tough this out. I'm going to come back and steamroll you rounds 2 and 3. And then that was the case against Gabriel Benitez, definitely Alexander Hernandez, and for sure Damon Jackson. The thing is with Zalal, he's not really one to gas. We've never really seen him to gas. Maybe him being short notice does add to that, but I'm not really buying that. He's never really been the type to gas. He's kind of a little bit of a point fighter, let's be honest, but even though he's been getting KOs as of late. But if he's Zalal we knew and love of old, he's willing to point fight. He's not afraid to do that. And we haven't really seen Billy Q go against much of a point fighter in, any recent memory off the top of my head. So, man, it's interesting because of that, because I don't think Zalal is going to gas out. I don't. And I think purely because of that, I think his skill set's probably better. I gotta lean Zalal to win this. I really like the things I've been hearing from him. I think he's ready to go and ready to make a good run on his second stint in the UFC. I'm gonna put some money on Zalal to win this fight. I think he's one of the better bets on the card. It's an underdog. I think the line has been dropping as of late. It's becoming a lot closer. And man, Zalal's getting doubted in his return by a lot of people, and I think he's got a good chance to win this fight. So yeah, I'm going with Yusuf Zalal to beat Billy Q. One of my faves is Billy Q. I'm very sad about that, but the more I look at it, the more I'm like, man, Zalal, I think Zalal's got it. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting fight, like stylistically. I'm very excited about. Next fight up the card, Peyton Talbot versus Cameron Simon. This is going to be this is a treat. This is an absolute treat on this card. And I think it's probably the best fight on this card. We got two fantastic prospects. Two prospects I think are really good. One I lean more that I think is really good. Although I've seen a lot of bettors go the opposite way in this fight, which I think I'll talk about. I'm a big fan of Cameron Simon. I think he's really good. Like his fights in the past, like all these fights over here, I thought he's like, wow, this dude is the real deal. This dude has it all. I think he has great mechanics in his striking, and a pretty good grappling game as well. He's not afraid to mix it up when he has to. Obviously, he prefers to strike, but he's got a good grappling game too. So, and that gym, CIT, right? Yeah, it says right here. So why am I being stupid? Team CIT with Dricus Du Plessis. He's got a good team behind him there, and man, I'm a big fan of Cameron Simon, and I think his overall game is pretty damn good. Payton Talbot, on the other hand, this dude's got great striking. He's got great striking as well. However, as we've seen in his last fight, which he did end up winning, through which we did see adversity from, which was good. It's good to see. It's good to see these prospects go through adversity. Nick Aguirre, where he was getting grappled. He was getting grappled by someone I don't really rate that high, if I'm quite honest. So that's a little bit of a red flag of sorts, but he's young. He's going to get better. He's 25 years of age. He's older than Cameron Simon. Man, Cameron Simon's kind of been in the UFC for a little bit, and that's still freaking young as hell. I'm leaning Simon to win this fight because I think the grappling edge is going to be helpful if he goes ahead and uses it. And this Christian Rodriguez loss, yes, Christian Rodriguez missed weight, but I think Christian Rodriguez himself is the real deal. I did think he won that fight against Bulgarian. Most people don't think so, but that was a really close fight. And Christian Rodriguez, that dude is good, man. That dude's a real prospect. And I believe that guy since the beginning, ever since I saw him in the Contender Series, Christian Rodriguez. And it's like, man, I'm going to pick him against JSP. I was wrong, but I thought that was a pretty freaking close fight on short notice. And it's like, after that, it was like, how can I pick against this guy? And the only time I picked against him was with Cameron Simon, because I'm a big believer in this guy. And I think how fast he is. He just... I don't know how else to say it other than this dude is freaking good. I will say this, though. I've seen a lot of, bettors I trust go all in on, not all in, but putting a lot of money on Payton Talbot, and they really believe in this guy. I think the biggest thing that most people have been saying is that they think Payton Talbot is going to pressure Cameron Simon, and Simon doesn't handle pressure as well. So I think that's the biggest standpoint, and I think stylistically Payton Talbot's going to win. I think Simon's going to be able to mix in wrestling if he chooses to wrestle. I hope he chooses to wrestle. Let's mix it up against this guy. And his striking is going to be quite good as well. So I lean Simon, but I can't deny Payton Talbot's pretty damn good. This guy's pretty damn good. So I'm going to take a little sprinkle of the dog, Cameron Simon. But that's a great fight. That's going to be a fun one. I bet you this is probably a good over. This is going to be a good over. I don't think the line is probably good on that over. Let me check Hard Rock Bet since I'm in Florida. Total rounds 2.5 minus 220. Okay, maybe better not. Maybe better not bet that, to be honest. I don't like that line, but it probably does go over. It does go the distance, but because yeah, this should be a fun fight. That's one I'm most excited about on this card. Next fight up the card: Edmen Shahbazyan versus AJ Dobson. I'm excited for this fight. Why? I talked about how it had a big bet on this card earlier. This is the big bet. I have trouble seeing any way Edmen Shahbazyan loses this fight. So why champ bets? Why are you asking? Why do you believe this? Why are you so sure in Edmen Shahbazyan? He's 1-4 in his last 5. Does this include Brunson? Yes. Then 1-4 in his last 5. He's not been looking so great as of late. I completely agree. He has not been looking so great. Although I might push back on that. These 3 fights, Nasruddin Mavo, Jack Hermanson, Derek Brunson, he didn't look good. He didn't look really good. Maybe round 1. Okay. He looked good around 1. But in this Dalcha fight, I'll be honest, I thought he looked quite phenomenal in that fight. And then you'll be like, Dalcha Lingambula. I hope I did not pronounce Dalcha. Let's call him Dalcha. This guy's not that good at all. And okay, fair point. He's not that great. But what it did show me, to me, was improvements in cardio. I was like, this guy's actually showing he can maintain a pace and go at it with someone for more than 1 round, which he proved in his last few fights before against Mavo, Hermanson, Brunson. Man, he just didn't have that. He just did not have that available to him. So then people will bring up oh my god, but Anthony Hernandez, he had cardio problems. Who doesn't have cardio problems against Anthony Hernandez? Let's go through Anthony Hernandez. Someone's cardio I rate highly is Marc-Andre Barrios. This dude got drowned. He got drowned by Fluffy. I don't know anyone who's in a long time who has not been drowned by Fluffy Hernandez. And in like the first round, in round 1 and even round 2, I thought Shabazian was handling himself quite well. I was extremely surprised because I was like, I think Fluffy's gonna probably drown him like he does everyone, which he ended up doing, but that was by no means an easy drowning. So because of that, this level of competition is Brunson, Hermanson, and Mavov, and Douch is nowhere near the same. And Hernandez, all those guys he lost to they're ranked. Well, not Brunson anymore. At the time I'm talking about. But I mean, Amavov I think is phenomenal. I think he's legit. I think he's legit top 5 talent, other than cardio wise for him. But Hermanson, great keeper. He's fantastic, and Hernandez I think is the real deal. I think he's really good. Easy top 15 guy, easy top 10, honestly. He's going to make his way up that division. Now we look at AJ Dobson. The level of competition is just flat out nowhere near what Edmund's been fighting. Jacob Malkoon losing. Good grappler. Edmund Shabazian's probably not going to grapple him, but I can see it happen. I can see it. Wouldn't bet on my money on that happening, but I could see that happen. Armin Petrosian, phenomenal kickboxer. And Armin Petrosian just flat out picked AJ Dobson apart on the feet. He just flat out picked them apart. And then he finally got back and got his first win in the UFC, right? Yeah, not Contender Series. First win in the UFC against Tafon Nchukwi. Which, good win, of course. Went to decision with Nchukwi. But the thing is with AJ Dobson, he does not push that pace. He does not push like a crazy pace. And I think similar to like how that Dalcha fight went with Edmund, like, where he's able to maintain his cardio, I think Edmund's cardio is going to be fine against a guy like AJ Dobson, unless AJ Dobson decides, I'm just going to fight a fight that's not typical of me. I want to be someone completely different. And I don't know if that's really something that's going to be good for AJ Dobson if he ends up doing that, to push a really high pace. I've heard people say, I think AJ Dobson's going to wrestle. The guy's Edmund's, like, because of Edmund being out wrestled in these past fights. But man, look at these guys. Hernandez, phenomenal grappler. And Mava, very good offensive grappler. Hermanson, very good offensive grappler. Derek Brunson, that's his whole thing. His whole thing is wrestling. I don't think AJ Dobson's on that level. And I think in Extreme Couture, it's basically a wrestling gym. I think Shabazian's been at the lab. I mean, 9 months ago was that Anthony Fluffy Hernandez fight. He hasn't had a fight since. When was that? Let's find when that Dusko Todorovic fight was originally booked. I mean, it was originally booked for this date, but Dusko had to pull out. And I think that would have been probably a tougher matchup for Edmund. But I just have trouble seeing where AJ stacks up against Edmund. I think Edmund's going to be flat out much faster. He's going to have a significant striking edge. I don't think his cardio is going to be as big of a problem as people are making out to be. I love Shabazian at the spot. I absolutely love him at the spot. Minus 185. I got him at that price. I think that's a steal. I think like Edmund Shabazian should be probably like minus 250. 250. I'm willing to even take chalk on him. Like, I think right now on if I check Hard Rock Bet, he is currently minus 210. I wish it was a better odds. On Bovada, he's minus 195. I love Shabazian in this spot, and this is the spot on the card I like the most. And I've parlayed fights in the future with Shabazian, and I think he's the guy to go with. I have a hard time seeing where he loses. He's young, 26 years of age. He's now coming into his prime. And another part, motivation. his back is against the wall. This dude's back is against the wall. He knows he needs to get a win. He knows H. Dobson's nowhere. He's not going to be on the level of these guys he's fought against. I like him. I love him in this spot, and I think he gets to win. And I think Even's going to get a KO. And I think he can't even win a decision. As unbelievable as that sounds, Edmund Shabazian win a decision. I think his cardio's improved since the Imavo fight. A little ballsy for me to say that, but I believe it. I do believe it. I just got a hunch on that. Maybe I'll be wrong. It's gonna complete pie on my face, but I think Shabazian's the side, and he's the clearest side I have for this fight night card. So yeah, let's go Edmund Shabazian. I got he's the biggest bet on the card for me. Up next, we have a heavyweight bout. Carl Williams versus Justin Tafa. Where it was originally Junior Tafa versus Carl Williams, but then obviously at 298, Justin Tafa had to pull out because of I forget what injury, but he had an injury going in, and Junior Tafa was like, "Oh, I'm on weight. I'll fight for the money and save the card, save that fight against De Lima," and it got absolutely destroyed. This is an interesting fight. Obviously, it's pretty obvious, like, breakdown. If this fight's on the feet, Justin Tafa is going to knock this dude out. He's going to knock Carl Williams out. If Carl Williams is able to take down Justin Tafa, probably going to win. But Justin Tafa has shown he can defend takedowns in the UFC. He has shown against the best competition, maybe not. But I don't think Carl Williams is really anything super special, if I'm honest. And I thought that Chase Sherman fight, he did not look. I did not think he looked good at all. And even against Bresky, I was there live in March 11th, Jan versus Marab. I didn't think he looked that great either in that fight. But he can wrestle. But man, he's open on the feet. And a guy like Tafa, I think he's going to be able. He's big enough to be able to stop the takedowns coming in and really just land on the chin on Carl Williams. Would I put big money on this fight? Maybe like a little bit of a sprinkle on Tafa. I think the odds are a little too off. Like, I think it should be like minus. No, excuse me. I get why Carl Williams is the favorite, but these odds are ridiculous. Minus 225 is in what world in my eyes? I think it should be like maybe plus 150 Tafa, plus 150, plus 140, and Carl Williams be like minus 140 or 150 kind of thing. So I'm gonna lean Tafa. I think he's gonna keep this fight on the feet, and I think he's gonna be able to catch Carl Williams. So yeah, if you think this fight goes on the ground though, Carl Williams is gonna be your guy to win. Wouldn't bet too much money on this fight. And now we have our main event. Amanda Ribas versus Thug Rose Namajunas. I think this is a great fight. I think this is the perfect fight to see where Rose Namajunas is at right now. If Rose is back to who she was before, she probably makes this look easy against Amanda Ribas. But if we've been seeing, because a lot of people are thinking Rose Namajunas she's done mentally. If that's really the case, Amanda Ribas is very, very, very live to win this fight. I think I'm going to lean Thug Rose Namajunas to get this win here. And I expect this to be a very fun fight because Ribas' whole style, come forward, and she's a freaking dog. She's an absolute dog, and it's gonna make this a really fun fight. That Carla Esparza fight is a tragedy to see. That was an awful fight. One of the worst fights I've ever seen. But that Manon Fiorot fight, she did lose that fight. I did think she did clearly lose that fight. But she showed, going up a weight class for the first time, she's able to be in competition with these 125ers. And something to mention, Amanda Ribas is not really big. She's been going up and down of flyweight and strawweight whenever. I think she does it to be active, which, hey, fair enough. Nothing wrong with being active. I think it's good for you to be active. And because of that, she's not the biggest. I think Rose deciding to move up to 125 and fight men on, and now sticking to it. I like that. I think she's putting on the right type of weight to be ready for this weight class at 125 and do well at 125. And I think she's got upside. I think she can absolutely KO Ribas. She can absolutely win a decision. She's gone 5 rounds before. This is Ribas' first time going 5 rounds in the UFC. And do I think submission is life for Ribas? Yes, it is. It absolutely is. But MMA is different. MMA is different. Like many people point to, oh my God, Jillian Robertson subbed Rose Namajunas. Jillian Robertson herself is a great submission artist, as is Amanda Ribas. Again, MMA is different. Wrestling is going to be different, and you being able to throw punches and strikes just makes such a big difference in grappling. That's not seen in like jiu-jitsu tournaments and like competitions. And I know a lot of people are worried about Rose Namajunas not having Trevor Whitman on their corner, and I think that's fair. Trevor Whitman is always giving her good advice, and like that our Sparza fight, she was like, Trevor Whitman was the only one really giving Rose any good advice in that fight. Boy, Pat Barry, what the heck? But that Manon fight I think it did show me like, man, Thug Rose is still here to fight. She's here to fight. She's still good. She's still good, and I think she still got it. I think she's there. I think I like her. I like her here. I bet a little bit on Thug Rose, not too much. The odds I think a little wide. This is minus 185. I think this is pretty good number. If Rose is who she is in the past, she should be like minus 200. And right now, if I look on Hard Rock Bet, minus 225. I'll bet a little bit on Rose to win. I think she does end up winning this fight. And yeah, Ribas, can she win? Absolutely. Ribas is a dog. This is a big spot for her. And this should be a fun main event. I'm very excited. I think there's a chance this gets a finish early on. There's a chance for that. Do I think it goes decision? Probably, but I wouldn't be betting overs. And maybe if the unders looks nice enough. Let me take a look. Right to go the distance. No, minus 175. That's interesting, actually. Interesting. I would be willing to bet like an over 1 round. Like I know like Bovada has like that kind of line. What's over 1 round? It's probably gonna be a disgusting number. Minus 700. Ooh. Never mind. Forget about that. That's crazy chalk. I mean, it's crazy chalk. Maybe like Rose hits like a freaking head kick and knocks Ribas out right away or something. But it probably will go over 1 round at least. I think the over decision line is very possible because I think Ribas is tough. Is it possible she gets her chin lets her down? Yeah, it's true. It definitely can, but she's a dog, and she showed that in the last fight against Luana Pinheiro. She was able to come back and hit that spinning wheel kick on Pinheiro and get the comeback with victory. I do think Thug Rose is she's just a level above. And I think her being a level above really it's going to give her a good chance to win this fight. And I have been listening to Rose Namajunas interviews and just seeing it. I do think she's in the right mind space. She's talking about how she feels like she has good power now. And I have seen that she's been training with some pretty good girls like Erin Blanchard. Let me check just to be sure. Rose Namajunas. If I check her Instagram, just on my other screen right here. Great, Instagram's not working. That's wonderful. But I'm quite sure I saw this, that she was training with Erin Blanchard, who's very good. Who's very good, and I think it's a good look to get against someone like Amanda Ribas. So, I lean Thug Rose. I think she's going to win. And by how? Probably decision. I'm not good at methods, but I think decisions, there's a good chance of that. I'm just bet money line. I just bet money line for the most part. So, to recap the whole card, We got Mo Usman McParkin. I'm leaning Usman. Andre Lima versus Igor Severino. I'm leaning Lima. Montserrat Rendon versus Daria Zeleni. Goodness gracious. Zelenziakov. Daria. I think Daria wins that fight. This next fight, Stephen Nguyen versus Jaro Aarons. I'm leaning Nguyen. I like the spread bet for Aarons. I will remind you about that. That's gonna be a close one. Next fight up the card, I got Miles Johns to beat Cody Gibson. Fight after, I got Juliana Rosa to beat Ricardo Ramos. Fight above that, fight I'm super not confident on at all. I think it can go either way. Trey Ogden, Kurt Hollabaugh. I'm leading Kurt Hollabaugh. Fight after, Luis versus Fernando. I'm leading Luis to win. Fight above that, starting the main card, Billy Quarantillo versus Yusuf Zalal. I am going underdog, going Zalal. Fight above that, Payne Talbot versus Cameron Simon. I love Simon, and I'm going to ultimately go up with him, even though a lot of people who I trust betting wise are going really big on Talbot, and they're probably right to do so, to be honest. Although I do love Simon's all-around game, and I do think Simon is able to get it done. I love both these prospects. I'm going with the guy who's ready to try and bounce back. Edmund Shabazi and AJ Dobson. I love Edmund Shabazi to clearly win this fight. And maybe I'll eat some words from AJ Dobson. Great guy. Nothing wrong with AJ Dobson. He's a good dude. But I think it's Edmund Shabazi's time to come back and reinstate himself into the MMA community, MMA world, and be like, hey, I'm still here. I'm 26. I'm still pretty good, and I'm getting better with my time off since the Fluffy fight. Carl Williams or Justin Tafa. I think Tafa is going to be able to catch him really and stay on the feet. And Amanda Ribas versus Rose Namajunas. I think she's going to be able to win this fight on the feet and pretty much outstrike Amanda Ribas. So one of the bet types, like I'm going to end this off here. One of the bet types I usually like are like 6 strike bets and like who's going to have more significant strikes, this person or this person, and more takedowns bets, who's going to have more takedowns, this person. So let me see on this card who I think would be good bets for those. I think probably Daria 6 strike bet. I think that's a pretty good one, depending on the odds though. The worry about that one is like Rendon takes her down, and because of that, she's not. Rendon lands strikes from up top and wins like that, but I don't think she's gonna be able to have that success. Although on the other hand, more takedowns bet. If someone's gonna get takedowns, it's probably it's Rendon. To be honest, I don't think that line's gonna be so great, but that's the case. In terms of these other ones, nothing really stands out. Billy Quarantillo always has volume, but Zalal, I think he's a point fighter and he's going to be able to try to keep distance. So I don't want to do that one. Neither this one. I think Shabazian 6 strikes is a good one. AJ Dobson's never really been high output, and I think because of that, Edmund's going to be able to tag him up early and really score some 6 strikes on him. The speed difference is going to be a good amount, I believe. Carl Williams, Justin Tafa, I wouldn't put money on that. Maybe Rose Namajunas to have more 6 strikes in the Ribas. Although Ribas is like I said, she's a dog. I think she's willing to come in and try and throw through the fences and try and do whatever she can to try and tire Rose out. So yeah, I think this is a fun fight card. I'm excited for it. The fight I'm most excited about is definitely Talbot versus Simon. I think that's going to be an absolute war. Other good fights. This one's going to be a banger. Igor versus Lima. Win versus Aaron should be pretty alright. Should be fun to watch. Ricardo Ramos versus Juliana Rosa. Guaranteed banger in my eyes. Any fight Rosa's in, probably guaranteed banger. Miles Johns versus Cody Gibson, I think could very well be a very fun one. Kurt Holloway's been pretty fun fights as of recent too. Luis versus Fernando, fun fight. This is a fun fight stylistically, although because of the stylistic matchup, I think Zalal might make it a little not so fun. But Billy Corntello always makes fun fights, so that should be a fun one. Already talked about that one. Shabazz and AJ Dobson. I think that could be fun. If it's a quick KO, that could be pretty fun. If Tafa gets a KO, that's gonna be fun as hell. If Williams gets wrestling, that's not gonna be that fun. And I love this main event, and I think this is gonna be a great fight, and it's a great way to end the card. It's a great way to see 5 rounds, between Ribas in 5 rounds, and see where Rose Namajunas is at. If Rose is who she is, she's gonna look phenomenal. If she's not, man, Ribas is gonna come in and she's gonna do pretty good, I imagine. So yeah, that's my breakdowns. My first time I ever done that. I don't know how long I went for. An hour. My goodness. Spent an hour of my time doing this. I had fun doing this. I like talking about the UFC. It's very fun to do. I hope you like the music. I ended up like finding a game soundtrack and putting it there. So let me know if you think the music's a good idea or maybe not so great. And yeah, Ribas versus Namajunas. First time ever doing this. Good experience. I'm only gonna get better. I didn't do this with any notes, so maybe that's why I like repeated myself a lot. Just to be fully honest. And yeah, let's have a good one. So yeah, big bets of the card. The bets on the card I really like are Edmund Shabazian for sure. I like Daria in that spot. I like an Aaron's spread bet, but that's like a sprinkle. I like a Rosa. I like a Rosa bet, a Zalal bet. Or talk about Shabazian, and I think small amount on Tafa and small amount on Rose. That's what I think. So have some fun. Good luck on the bets. I hope I do good as well. And yeah, this is the first time I'm ever going to use Hard Rock bets. So I'm going to try and now I'm starting this thing up with Champ Bets. Let's try and go ahead and make some money. Thank you so much, and have a great one. See y'all next week, because I'll be back, and I'll try being earlier this time, but get ready for the next fights, the next card. See ya.